Hi Bradley, and welcome to this maintenance and instruction video concerning your guitar. Now let me show you what the problem was. There was a problem. This little wire here, white wire, got desoldered. That's because of the movement, you know, this got a little bit loose, and after a while, you know, you've played a lot, I can see, which is great. So I resoldered it, I added a piece of black shrink tube, I reinforced everything with a locking washer, which will keep it in one place for much longer. I've tightened everything up as much as possible. Also tightened the other two knobs. So actually basically everything is in very good shape now, and I will just close this again afterwards. Another thing that I had to do was to adjust the neck a little bit. You see, the neck, the curve of the neck should be slightly concave in the middle. There should be a slight dip in the middle, never a little hill. That would make it very bad. But this is no problem. Actually, it can even be quite curved and still be fixed without any problem. That's the natural state of the neck, a slight curve. Inside the neck there is this metal truss rod, which is adjusted here using an Allen key, an Allen wrench, a 4mm key, which I used to tighten it. You just go, you know, the usual way, clockwise is tightening. But okay, I mean, you don't have to do it yourself. And that way you counter the action of the string. You see, the strings are pulling. They want to make the neck go this way, but this truss rod is pulling it back. And when you neutralize these two forces in the perfect position, then in the middle of your neck there should be just like a hair's breadth of room for the string to move. Basically it's like almost straight, perfect. Another thing, I changed the strings. Why? Well, the strings were still okay, more or less, but there was quite a bit of grit on them, which happens very quickly, believe me. I mean, I can see you've kept your guitar in very good condition. Excellent, great job. But when it comes to strings, it's a bit like the lens of your camera. You don't want to touch it with your fingers and keep touching it and keep touching until there's a deposit or a crust on it, right? It's the same with your strings. You see, I have this cloth here, which I always get when I buy a pair of these Italian jeans. It's a kind of old-fashioned handkerchief, and you can have it. I've never used it at all. I keep it around my guitar because these are very handy. They don't leave any fluff behind. That's what you need for your strings. After each playing, just run it up and down like this, each string individually. You see, you just grab the string from the two sides, run it up and down. That's enough. And you will see two black lines on this where the grit or the dirt stayed on the cloth. What I also did when I removed the strings is I cleaned each fret with some kind of, let's see, this is a fingerboard cleaner, for example, which you can use for most guitars. You can buy it in any guitar shop. It's by Dunlop. And what I did is just with a little cloth, or maybe with like an ear swab or something, you just go along the fret on the two sides. So that kind of thing. Now it's all clean again. And when I restrung your guitar with new strings, I used this method. You see, I noticed that you only had about 3 turns, and that's enough, basically. It's true. But it's always safer to have a few more. And another thing is, it's always good to go as low as possible on the machine head. You see, it creates a better angle for the string to behave better. Plus the strain on your machine head is also reduced, and that way it all stays more accurate. Right. Of course, for this, it's a lot of work to do it like this, so you should use a string winder, which you just put on the machine head and just turn. It goes faster. Again, about strings, I would say now they are in perfect order. For example, these two strings have a string retainer, which ensures that the string doesn't fall off the nut. The rest of the strings don't need one, but it's always better to try to create the correct angle, you see, so that the string behaves better. All right, and that's pretty much it. Now it's all in perfect shape again. Yes, I was gonna say these also come with screws on the side. If you tighten this screw, then it's more difficult to turn. So that's not good for tuning, especially with a string winder. You have to loosen them a bit. Once the strings have been tuned perfectly and everything, you can tighten this a bit too. That's, you know, when you're fine tuning, if this is tighter, the machine heads would not move so much. But still, guitars get out of tune not because of machine heads, but because of temperature variances. You can't do anything about that, you know. You go from one room to another, and as we all know, metal stretches or shrinks depending on the temperature, and since every string is a different gauge, different thickness, they all behave differently, so they will be out of tune before you know it. Okay, anyway, and I've also tuned the intonation. That was necessary after these 2 years. It's all part of the, you know, periodic maintenance. As you can see, there are some screws here, and by reducing or increasing the length of the string, you make sure that the note you play, so here that would be an E, you see, and a perfect E on the tuner, is the same on the 12th fret. We get exactly the same note. And also the open harmonic. So that has to be done for all 6 strings. Over the years, some of the strings were off, and yeah, well, of course it has an effect, you know. If it's just a millimeter or two, it's not a problem, but if you moved all these for about half a centimeter, the guitar will become untunable. So there is an effect. Now, let's show you how this guitar sounds on a big amp. A sip of coffee, always nice. So, I don't know what amp you use with your teacher. By the way, the micro amp, the little Marshall in the foam docking station is in perfect order, everything's fine there. But of course, you can just plug the guitar into a regular amp. In this case, it's a pretty powerful valve or tube amp, and you can play some very nice things on this guitar now that it's in perfect tune. Get this acoustic-y sound. That's an old song by the Beatles called Norwegian Wood. A lot of good music can be played on this guitar now that it's been set up like this. You can play some jazz. That sort of thing. Okay, and with a clean sound, you can play the typical rock and roll bluesy licks, as they call them. You know, things like tune now. Okay, so then you can also use some more rock sounds on this guitar as well, just to show you what it sounds like when I really crank this thing up on the other channel. With a lot of gain, as we call it. Something like this. Okay. Now, there you go. A very well-known tune in A by AC/DC. So, there. So, why am I showing you this example? That's the last thing, just for you to see the benefits of thinking with a note neck. This song is an A, so A and D. Later there's A, D, and G. Solo part begins. Let me show you this. Yeah, the guitar, you can hear a bit of noise. That's because of the high gain. For that you need a noise suppressor. It's not down to the guitar or the amp, it just there's too much gain. So you see, in this solo you will play this lick first. So, look at this A here, it's gonna be featured in this lick as well. Another A. Another A. And another A. In the second part, A again. This is also an A when we bend the string to the A tone. Or here. And we end the solo in A. So we have A's all over the solo. That's why it sounds so good. So when you're on the A chord in this kind of rock song, see, that's an A. Sorry, that was not an A, but this is. That's an A too. Here you have one. This one. So if you know the location of your root note, you can play some really good stuff. And the root always sounds good in a song. Whatever else you play is interesting and nice, but you have to use the root to confirm key of your song. Okay, now let's get rid of some of this gain. Go to a cleaner sound. And once again, briefly demonstrate the new sound and the perfect tuning now. So, now everything is really in perfect tune and everything is tight again. If you play as much for the next 2 years, you'll have to give it back to me again to do the same thing, but probably not this. This will stay tight for the next 5 or 6 years, I suppose. But in terms of strings, definitely, you see now I've just played and I'm gonna do this. Always have this thing handy so that you can wipe them. So you just go up and down the string. Not much grit now. I haven't played very long. I haven't sweated or anything, so it's okay. But after a while it does happen, and once you get that first layer, the other layers keep adding up very, very quickly and very easily. So now it's all. You see, now that I've played a bit, I have warmed the strings up and they've stretched a bit, which is normal, but just a bit, okay. That's typical of a guitar. It doesn't stay in tune forever. No matter what people say, it's a myth. A guitar that's always in tune doesn't exist. Just because of the, temperature factors, not guitar related factors. So everything is really good now, I find, and I wish you a lot of playing and learning pleasure in the years to come. Okay, thanks for watching.